Welcome back, and we're still talking about the supplementary elections that are going on in different parts of the country. We still have Professor Jinodu here in the studio. Earlier, before we went on that break, we spoke to Pius, and we'll still reach out to our other correspondents who are monitoring the election in the different states that are having them. Prof, before we went on that break, you used a particular word, parochial. Said the nation's becoming more parochial. The extent of division.
Parochial along ethnic lines.
Parochial along ethnic lines. Okay, that's the phrase. Parochial. But how do we get out of this place, the place of healing? Because from your submission, it looks as though this division along the ethnic lines are being fueled by the politicians. It's as if they're benefiting from it. So how do we get out of that place?
Let me say that ethnicity per se is neither bad nor good. It depends on what you use to make. It can be used
for good.
For good. And that was the whole idea of the federal character clauses in the Federation. But those federal character clauses are not something that is new to Nigeria. And moving forward, I think we need to look at how, particularly in societies that are deeply divided along ethno-religious lines, how they have sought to address this issue. And the problem is, of course, that some ethnic groups might use their power through strategically placed gatekeepers to exclude other groups from access to the state, which is why you now have these federal character clauses. And it's in there, a number of other places where it is placed, Malaysia, for example. But I think our problem, basically, has been that even though the federal character clauses, which even existed before 1979, if you look at federal cabinets, regional cabinets, they included this concept of diversity, ministers, federal ministers, 3 from the east, 3 from the north, 3 from the, so to create that parity. But we have not been able to build mutual trust among the political class to be able to make that, the federal character clauses work well.
Okay, Prof, I will let you continue your point in a moment. I understand we have our correspondent, Hajara Aliu from Bauchi. Hajara, tell us what's going on now where you are. Hajara, if you can hear me.
Okay, thank you, Ijeoma. I'm at the INEC Coalition Office in Ningi local government area of Bauchi State. Coalition has commenced inside as I speak to you. Election held peacefully in Bauchi, and voting, sorting, and counting has all has ended in most of the polling units where election took place. Everything has been peaceful so far. We hear reports of ballot box snatching from an eyewitness who was in Jamare local government area in one of the polling units there. We heard that we received information that a ballot box was snatched and was taken away for some hours and then returned stuffed. But the people there at that polling unit chased the ballot box snatchers away. We also saw earlier in the morning in that local government area where the voters chased some politicians away who had no business with the polling units, who we don't understand why they were there. So the electorate took it upon themselves to chase whoever had no business with the polling unit away. Right now, what is going on is the ward and local government coalition. It will be done in the local government coalition office. It will be done, there's no rack center this time around. After this place, the results will now be taken to the state coalition center in Bauchi.
I know you've talked about the voters that were very active, chasing attackers away, etc. What was the turnout like in the areas where you monitored? We're actually looking at how voter turnout was. What was it like where you saw?
The turnout in Bauchi State is massive, is very impressive. There was enthusiasm on the part of the voters. We don't understand why most of them decided that they would come out and vote this time. When you compare it to the March 9 governorship election, the turnout wasn't that much. The turnout was low, but this time around, the turnout is massive.
And what would you say about the security deployments? I can see from where you are in the background, it seems very calm where you are. Was the security deployment what you thought it should be? And do you think this whole process will go on without, you know, any incidences, for instance?
Yeah, very. Can you repeat your question, please?
I was talking about security where you are.
Okay, security is very tight here. With, one of the polling units we left before we came to the collation center here, after the results was announced, the place was tensed up. It looked as if there was going to be violence, but the security brought everything under control. And that's what we've seen so far in the polling units that we've monitored. Security is very tight, and they've actually done their best to secure all the polling units and ensure that there's a violence-free election in Bauchi State.
All right, thanks a lot, Hajara. I'm sure we'll check in with you again when you have more for us about the process going on right there in Bauchi State. Hajara Aliyu there in Bauchi. Prof, we heard her talk about how, I mean, this is the action you were talking about. The voters actually chasing off somebody who wanted to take ballot boxes and all that, and even some politicians were chased away as well.
Yeah, that's something we're thinking of, this night watchman concept, that we are where citizens are determined to prevent anyone from derogating from the sanctity of the electoral process in terms of the polling booth itself.
But how much of that can be driven across board, across the country? Can Nigerians across the country arise and say enough is enough?
Yeah, I think we have
without being compromised by the politicians.
We have to do a lot of public orientation, no doubt. But all over the country, there are night watchmen all over the place. People are protecting, communities are protecting their property.
But they are protecting it for gain. So we are working for salary.
That is part of the public education. That is an investment in the future of the country. We cannot be doing elections this way. So let us invest just the way we are mobilized to prevent thieves from coming to our houses at night to carry out. That this is the most important power we have of electing our leaders. So let us analogize from that, from the way we protect our property by forming community night watchmen, to now use that same metaphor to describe why we should be engaged in the electoral process. It's done in other countries. I've watched elections in Ghana. You hardly see policemen. It is citizens who stand and watching. And if anybody wants to misbehave, we cannot continue securitizing our elections. It is against even the best practice for electoral integrity. And we are going, it's becoming more and more serious because you have not seen way of, we have accepted as a solution. Let's just let them push them out. And some of them can misbehave, as we see, soldiers, policemen behaving in partisan manner. But if you and I, we can educate our public to be civic conscious in this sense of protecting that the best way to protect your ballot is you yourself to protect it. It's not the policeman who's going to protect it for you.
Yes, but you see a lot of people talk about the fact that the 9th Assembly have a lot ahead of them. And if they don't make a concrete plan, you know, with which to allow this electoral process to happen, in 2023 we will sit here like this and talk about the same problems.
People have already started planning for 2023.
Mobilizing. People have already started planning. What do you mean, Prof? Which people and what kind of, the same kind of plan?
Those who want to run for public office. The two major political parties, for example.
Prof, are we not making two? I mean, I've spoken to people who say maybe we're trying, we're assessing things a bit faster than we ought to. After all, this entire process we're talking about is only 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's 20 years old this year. And that it took, you mentioned earlier in your statement that this is an underdeveloped country. And that therefore, some leeway. There are so many people, so many ethnic groups, so much to make preparation for and make provision for. And that where we are, it's not too bad, given
After
all
20
these other,
years.
Yes, given all this other, I mean, this is the argument.
Well, I mean, I agree with you on that. But this is an important problem that may have the long-term consequence of derogating from the gains we are making. It's not that we are not making, I mean, the very fact that we've conducted elections, I mean, about 6 or 7 since 1999, and we've had a change of government change from one party to not only at the national level, but also at the state level. And people who have been told to vacate governors' houses have left. People are going to courts instead of going to the streets to contest elections. Those are gains that we are making. And then we have in these last elections a new crop of presidential candidates whom some people see as probably silver lining.